Hey folks, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic. I hope the audio issues I've been having are finally behind me. How's everyone's Tuesday going?
Going well.
Cool. Let's verify. Videos have to do it. Oh, bunch of people coming today. Just give it folks till 2 past to come in. Oh, it's 2 past right now. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started. First previous meeting recording is obviously right here in the link. Thanks for the reminder, whoever put this here. So in the spirit of trying to accelerate the effectiveness and the good put of this meeting, I see someone has copied and pasted the message I left in Discord. Last week when we talked about this, I went through and reassigned all of the unowned issues to people, at least people who I think might be the best person to own them, with the caveat and understanding that if you're not, please, by all means, feel free to reassign or close or break into smaller issues. That is totally fine. The point is just that we have a contact person for each issue, so that if it becomes stale or we feel like it hasn't been moved, that person can at least hand it off or take the relevant administrative actions. I didn't post a reminder to do this, and I'm sorry for that. So like, no hard feelings or anything, but I'm just wondering if anyone had a chance to go through the issues assigned to them and verify that they are all somewhat bite-sized issues, like could be done within 5 business days. Again, totally fine if you haven't. That's just, the goal we're getting to here. And let me share just a bit of information like about something a bit higher level we're trying to do. In fact, if you just want to go to the wiki real quick, I'm working on this page right now called How to Create and Review PRs. It's still a work in progress, but it is, trending a little bit on the longer side. What I'm trying to do here is try to get us into a place where we have like just a process document for doing pull requests and for reviewing pull requests, so that we can all make sure we know what's expected of us in terms of like issue sizing, PR sizing, turnaround times, what goes where, general factoring of code. It's meant to be like an all-around useful document that could be turned into a checklist, for both submitters and for reviewers to complete. And then if they complete it, there's a very good chance that the PR is in a mergeable state. Please feel free to take a look offline. It's still a work in progress. I still have more things to add to it. If you feel like there's something that's not covered or adequately explained, please flag it, and I am more than happy to iterate on it with you as issues come in. We will all probably have things to say on it as we have a chance to stress test it against real PRs that are in flight. So going forward, just trying to tailor the meetings to be a little bit more efficient. Let's just go ahead and proceed with the usual mainnet and testnet check-ins. After that, I just want to I'll have a period of time where we will just talk about action items. I think everyone knows what their issues are. Everyone knows what their pull requests are, because every issue and pull request now has an issue. And this meeting should be used to try to figure out if there's any sort of stakeholder feedback you need for issues, any sort of things people are blocked on where they need someone else on this call to help them. We can take that up in action items, and the action items just serve as a checklist of things to do in the next day or the next week to help get us unblocked. Does that all sound reasonable to everyone here?
Sounds good.
All right. So mainnet check-in. Let me just bring to everyone's attention the status.sh script I have running here. As you can see, things are a little choppy. They've been choppy ever since we saw the price action last week. It tends to get particularly choppy when the node, when the blockchain gets loaded. So it's smooth when there's not very much compute being used, but when things get really choppy, this block used 99% of the read, the MARF read capacity, then we have orphans. You'll also notice that There's a lot, this number here, like 3: and 4: that is the version of the block. 3 is 2.05.0.6.0, so latest 2.05 release, and 4 is 2.1. 2 is an older version. And as you can see, most of the miners have not upgraded. And I posted in the mining Discord chat yesterday that, it'd be really good if people did upgrade, because it actually fixes this orphaning behavior. Right now, when the system is under load, it creates the conditions for a race condition to happen, by which the pre 2.05.0.6.0 miners will inadvertently think that the last block that they received or the last block that they mined is the chain tip, even if a later block comes later. And moreover, their miners are not preemptible, so that the arrival of a new block or a new Bitcoin block does not stop them from mining and can cause them to issue orphans of their own. Because sufficiently many miners have not upgraded, we see this behavior where the miners that have upgraded, they tend to get orphaned more often. And that's why I'm kind of hoping, if there's any miners listening who are running these older series miners, please upgrade. Like, you're leaving money on the table too. Like, you're hurting the advancement of the Stacks blockchain. That's implicitly losing you money. And moreover, there's a higher chance that you yourself would mine orphans or mine empty blocks because your miner is not preemptible. That said, the Bitcoin blockchain is looking pretty full. There were a few periods of time earlier this week where there were several Bitcoin blocks in a row, like 3, I think was the max I had seen, where there was no block mined. I need to figure out why that is. I'm happy to go create an issue for this. Let's see, action items. Why were there gaps of more than 2 Bitcoin blocks without block commits? Because that is surprising behavior. And if you look at the distribution of mining power, yeah, like either there's no sortition or there's an orphan, and that happens 27% of the time. Other than that, though, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 miners working right now to produce blocks. There are more miners that are trying. The long tail, sometimes they just don't even get in at all. So like this guy, I think down here, SPGPX mined 2 blocks in the past 24 hours. They were both orphaned, likely because they're running a newer miner, whereas some of the longtime miners are still running old miners. This all goes away when 2.1 goes live, because that kind of forces everyone to upgrade. I'm just hoping they can, get started on that sooner, because they're going to have to spin up a node from Genesis regardless. And it's better to do that sooner rather than later. So there's problems, we can help you.
So on that note, Jude, I mean, if a majority of miners are still running 2 versions prior, like, not even 2.05.06, then I think we have to contemplate like a worst case scenario where 2.1 happens, the majority of miners have not upgraded, and then we have a chain split. So when we say that, it's a forcing function, I don't think we can assume that will actually work.
Oh, no, it very much is a forcing function, because as long as the exchanges have upgraded, then the old miners can't sell their stacks. They'll stop in short order once they realize they're wasting their money.
Right. Okay.
And moreover, the 2.1 miners ignore 2.05 miners. Like, they just don't even see their block commits because they recognize them as stale. So it's not even like they're going to degrade the 2.1 chain quality by continuing to operate as they are.
Yeah. Okay, so practically in the short term, we're back to kind of this question of, how do we get miners' attention? And we've put notices up on the Explorer in the past. We're happy to sort of explore that again. Besides that, like, are there other things that we could do? Like, I know one thing you had done in the past is like send SGX transactions to the miner addresses with a memo. Is that something that we want to try again?
I don't think it had an impact last time.
Okay.
I think perhaps ecosystem leaders should tweet this often, something on the order of like, today would be a good day for everyone to upgrade to 2.1. Just so like there's noise being made about it.
Yeah.
If you just complain about, I'm sorry, so was someone speaking?
Oh, I was just suggesting an idea. What about like a notification in the wallet?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think it's good to over communicate on this. We don't know what communication channels the miners use because, by design, it's open membership, anyone can join. So we should probably try to be as loud as possible. And moreover, like, it's in our interests, regardless of 2.1, for them to upgrade, because the user experience would improve with the new things that are in 2.05.0.6.0. And now that the system is pretty regularly under load, the user experience is being degraded more often than not due to this short-lived forking behavior. So we don't have to strategize exactly the best way to communicate right now. If you want to add to this bullet list here, please feel free to do so. But generally speaking, yes, like we should have an Explorer notification like we had last time. We should be talking about it in social media, possibly also in Telegram. I don't know what the verb for Telegram is. While notification is a good idea, I don't know if that will reach miners per se, because miners are probably running their own things, but sure, we should try to over communicate if at all possible. That said, is there anything else for 2.1? Do we have an ETA on mainnet for a chain state snapshot for everyone to do a short upgrade?
We're working on that right now, Jude. ETA, not quite sure yet. We're looking at maybe early next week at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlie, the syncs from Genesis, I mean, how long is it taking? Is it like a week or more? Because that's also a problem.
Yeah, so I'm kind of seeing mixed results from that. Most people that I've talked to are saying that the sync is taking a very long time, like over a week. But in some very rare situations, like for Jay Wiley, I think the sync only took him a couple of days. So we're kind of like, we're cross comparing notes and setup implementations right now. But I can't identify anything that is unique or different about Jay Wiley's environment as compared to what we're running at Hero.
With Jay Wiley,
There's two exceptions there. So
with
the
Tom,
sync that I'm running is just a blockchain sync.
Yeah.
I'm using that consumer event repo that Raphael created just to write the TSV file. So that sync will be faster. That takes about 30 or 48 hours. A sync without that API component takes about 36 hours roughly on a 4 CPU machine.
So we're running the exact same thing as you are, Jay Wiley, and it's taking us at least twice the amount of time. So when you finished syncing using that script, I was about almost halfway through.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah. So for some reason, it is taking a lot less time for your setup, even with an event observer that's writing to disk.
Okay.
Charlie, which Bitcoin nodes are you using?
We have some private Bitcoin nodes that are only accessible internally, so they're not under heavy load, and they don't seem to be restrained or starved resource-wise.
Surprisingly, when I do this sync of 2.1, I use the public Bitcoin nodes, and it still takes on the order of 2 to 3 days.
Yep.
Yeah, like I don't feel the bottleneck is the Bitcoin node necessarily, but I'm not sure exactly where the bottleneck is. It might be IO related somewhere. But
yeah, second question is, what's your are you using SSD?
Yes.
Okay, so it's probably not that. I would try the public Bitcoin nodes. It could be that there's something about the private Bitcoin nodes that just makes them throttle you somehow. I don't know. It's kind of like the sysadmin's haiku about like, it's not DNS. It was never DNS. It was DNS. Replace DNS with Bitcoin node.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that we could try. Is that what you're using, Jay Wiley, the public Bitcoin node?
Yeah, the ones that the foundation runs. You have the information on it.
Okay.
Okay, just try syncing with the same exact like setup, including Bitcoin nodes that Jay Wiley and I are using, and see what you get.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll try that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I will say the one thing I have noticed consistently on every single sync is the IO is extremely high.
Yep.
For 2.1.
Oh yes.
And when you add in the API layer, Postgres potentially, it gets awful. I have a standalone blockchain plus API plus Postgres sync happening on the side. And yes, that has taken longer than a week at this point. And I'm still 15,000 blocks behind chain tip.
Yeah, it may be worth just like trying to find like an IO graph over time of the syncing process. Because if we see periods where IO is not high, what that means is that the Stacks node is waiting on something. So whether or not that's information from the Bitcoin node or it's waiting on Stacks block data, because it also needs to sync that, we could look into. But yeah, I'm like pretty skeptical that that just switching which Bitcoin nodes it's talking to is going to impact things here.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's something that we're looking at right now. It's a difficult one.
Yeah.
Right, Aaron, I'm not suggesting that's just the Bitcoin nodes, like really the action item down here is like, that has been a problem in the past for other users trying to sync nodes, especially if they try to run their own nodes, interestingly enough. What I recommend to Charlie is he should try using as close to the same setup as the foundation uses. So like same general config file, same settings, same hardware setup. Even including like, you know, maybe running it inside of a Kubernetes pod might be a problem or something like that. Just there's a bunch of places that could lead to, you know, throttling.
So, quick question on communications with the Bitcoin node. So, like, how often does a Stacks blockchain node interact with the Bitcoin node? Is that on like every single Stacks block?
No, it used to be that way, but in 2.1, what happens is the node will download a full reward cycle of Bitcoin blocks.
Okay,
And then
gotcha.
it'll
So,
stop, and then it will try to process Stacks blocks, and then once it finds the anchor block, it will proceed to the next reward cycle.
gotcha.
It will also sync headers, but that's a one-off operation that starts at the very beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still definitely going to test this out with the Foundation's Bitcoin nodes. I just never got the impression that it was communicating with the Bitcoin node enough that it would slow down the sync this significantly. But I'm not quite sure of it right now.
Okay, yeah, we can talk more about this offline to try to figure out what's going on here, because it really shouldn't take more than 3 days. If you have beefy hardware, it's 2 days. So there's definitely something interesting happening here. Moving on, what is the status of the mainline testnets 2.1 cutover? Are the 2.1 nodes for testnet synchronized? Because those sync for me in like 24 hours. There's a lot less state to work through.
Yeah, I saw quite a bit of improvement on our side when syncing testnet. Prior to 2.1, syncing testnet took like a good week or sometimes even longer.
Wow.
This time it took probably less than 48 hours. But to answer your question, mainline testnet has been upgraded to 2.1, so we're ready to go.
Oh, fantastic. So that's gonna,
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to hear.
There is a report, someone on Discord who's been having a really hard time syncing testnet. I don't know why yet. So I just want to make that aware for everyone.
Can
I'm
you,
speaking with them.
Can you gather the logs from him and the text, or have him do it and put it into a GitHub issue?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's in progress. You know, first I'm just going to rule out that it's, you know, user error,
Yeah.
or, you know, latency errors, things that are explainable. But I just want to, you know, let everyone know that I have seen reports of bad testnet syncs.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know too, because we did try to spend some time fixing that this time around.
Yeah. There was another issue too that, oh boy, I think it was Bowtie Deployer filed. They had a really strange issue. And I think this might just be good for a good first issue, is they tried to sync using a Bitcoin burn chain that was only like 70% synced. And they had a very odd error.
I'm sure they would.
Yeah. So I had to file an issue. I think that we can change the error message at the very least for that one.
Probably. Yeah, want to go ahead and open an issue?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. I know that they said they did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine too, just as long as it gets into GitHub.
Yep.
Cool.
So just
Speaking of-
something to keep an eye out for. If someone tries to sync with their burn chain not fully synced, they're gonna see some strange issues.
I believe it. Oh, I see. This is it right here. Oh, this is Bowtie Deployer. Okay, I think he's actually on this call right now.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
Okay. Oh, this particular crash, there's a mitigation PR in place for this. This is actually there's a bug that I've never seen happen before, but I guess it can happen in this particular situation.
Excellent. even better.
Should that be opened against master since it's a fix?
Up to you. I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this one right here. I'll just make a note to do that. Well, actually, I can just do this right here. It's literally a 5-line delta, so it's, yeah, probably gonna be just fine. All right. I will go ahead and I'm already the owner of this issue. We have 2 unknown issues right now. We have this new issue of renaming testnet stacks node to stacks node or something else. The point is to get rid of the testnet stacks node. My pushback against this was that this would likely break things in unanticipated ways. I said documentation, but it would probably also break CI and a few other places as well that are kind of hard to know. My question here is, is there a general strategy we would want to undertake going forward for dealing with technical debt like this that involves renaming things that are kind of prominent in the code base? Like, go ahead.
My general philosophy on this is like issues like this. I would prefer to just do the rename and figure out if it breaks something later down the line. That doesn't apply to CI defined within the repository because like we will actually know very immediately
Yes.
what CI tasks would break just by doing a rename. But like, I think in resolving this issue and doing the rename, like you have to update any GitHub actions that depend on this. In terms of breaking third-party websites that like link deep into the code, I would not worry about it. If people want links to specific code files in Git repositories to work permanently, they can click that permalink button.
They can. That's true.
So
The thing I'm trying to figure out right now though is like, do we want this person to? Should this person be on the hook for sending a PR, or should we just preemptively do it? Because I kind of feel like it would be kind of a slog to have to deal with all the CI problems that might come out of this. I wouldn't want the user to have to deal with this.
This is a great task for Stack Labs.
right. Yeah. I think that the question of like who should implement this is probably like kind of unrelated to like what the answer here is. I think that the answer here is like clearly that we shouldn't like have our mainnet node in a testnet directory.
Yes, I agree.
So
Yeah.
I
have similar questions about whether or not we should continue calling it Neon node, but that's probably a separate discussion.
This probably resulted in months of confusion and months of confusion in aggregate, including myself last year.
I'm happy to just own this issue, if that's all right with you, unless someone has a burning desire to do this.
Yeah, feel free to own the issue, and if somebody else wants to take on implementation, you can you can give them some pointers.
Cool. Yep. Just want to make sure all the issues have owners.
I was just.
What's up?
What issue is that? 3590. Yeah, I just looked at the comment. Documentation is already broken in a lot of places.
That's also concerning.
Yeah, because we just updated a lot of the documentation.
Do you want to just chime in here, Jay Wiley, and just ask him to
Yeah,
elaborate on this?
3590. Okay, got it. All good. Thanks.
Thanks.
So what else could we fix if we're going to fix all at once so that we don't do it piecemeal?
I'm sorry, what you were?
Is there anything we should also think about any other things that we can fix now, since we don't want to fix docs once, not keep doing it again?
I think doc maintenance can balloon into its own complex software system. I kind of feel like, that we should figure out what this guy means by broken first.
So one quick comment on the docs. I don't know if this is necessarily broken, but there's a bunch of changes that were made in the docs Rust file
Yeah.
that still are not showing up in the docs website. So like fixes with output types and things like that.
Yes, I'm aware of that, Bryce.
Okay.
So that was, yeah, because when the docs themselves changed, I believe it broke the CI that would create that PR to the docs site.
Wait, you broke my robot?
No, the CI still works as it should, but the
Okay.
file structure changed on the doc site. So the PR
Yeah,
broke.
I did notice that the docs site like dev nulled my robot's PRs.
Yeah, we'll get it fixed soon.
Cool.
It's just, it's not a priority at the moment because we just did a release.
Is there an issue tracking this somewhere?
I don't know, but I'm tracking it.
Okay, it's fine to make a duplicate issue. We can always close issues later. I just don't want us to forget about this because,
Yeah.
people bounce due to bad docs or to broken docs.
Yes.
Cool. All right, other open issue, the managed Bitcoin wallet with RPC calls. Also, I see, thanks Igor for tagging the Stacks Labs. So the concern as I read it here is that the user is asking for the Bitcoin node to be responsible for owning the private key, among other things, and transactions to be submitted by a create raw transaction. I mean, I'd have to look. This would probably need some looking into. We have our own transaction crafting system that would likely need to be removed or farmed off to this. I also don't know like what kind of whether or not this would introduce any compatibilities. So this kind of is still a bit open as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, like it's kind of low priority. It's a hot wallet either way. So you take the same risks by running it in a Bitcoin node or having it in a text file.
Yeah, I think somebody should take ownership of this issue.
Is it a issue we want to fix? I think first of all is the question.
That's a great question for an owner to decide.
I'm inclined to close it myself. Like, I don't think
Right.
this actually gains us anything.
All right, yeah, you can assign yourself and then, yeah, just like if you're closing the issue, just like add your rationale for it. And like,
Yeah.
if the person wants to continue discussion of it, then point them to either the discussions in the forum or something.
Yeah, I can do that.
Cool.
All right, everything's got an owner. Let me just quickly do pull requests to make sure that everything is owned here as well. I see we have a couple new ones that are not related to the SBTC or L1 working group projects that are also not frozen. So first we have talked about this. This is just a hot fix against master. I believe this is 2 approvals now. Thanks for jumping on this, Aaron.
Yeah, as soon as the CI finishes, I'll merge.
Sounds good. And we have a couple things here that, okay, this is still a draft, and we have cargo check errors and benchmarks. We did have a question here that I think we're still waiting for some feedback from Aaron on. Can we just delete the benches code?
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Yeah, I saw that question in my email, but then like it's not in this thread.
Oh,
Like I saw
Okay.
you ask that question and I was like, I'll reply on GitHub and I don't see it. So
oh, I see your reply here. I don't see my question now. But okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Let's find this. I think we have a separate, I think it might be like a separate PR that talks about this here. All right.
I think it was on an issue, so yeah, this is a PR. So
I'm sorry, what's up?
I think you have the question on the
yeah, it's
issue,
on the issue.
yeah.
Oh, this, yeah. Right, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't see Aaron's comment. But yeah, okay. So that's what we'll just do. We'll just nuke benches code that doesn't compile. It's in the GitHub history. We can go restore it later if we need it. but there's no need to spend time trying to get it to work. Pavitra, is there anything you want to say about this before we move on? The draft PR you have here?
Yeah, could someone volunteer to just test this out locally?
Any volunteers?
Sure.
I also have already tested it. Yeah, okay.
Just in test is good for you to test.
Sorry, who volunteered?
I did, Scott.
Great, thanks, Scott.
Yeah, just add as a reviewer.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's a better idea. Cool, thanks. All right. So that's PRs, that's issues. Is there anything else we need to talk about while we're all here?
So can I just ask one clarification for the issue management? So I started going through all the ones that were assigned to me this morning. Haven't
Yep.
gotten through them all yet, but
Yeah, it's fine. There's a lot, so it's all
Yeah.
good.
So the plan is like if the issue if I think the issue can be resolved within 5 days or so, then well, I guess first question is if I think it can be resolved within 5 days versus will it actually be resolved in 5 days? Like, do I have time to do it in the next 5 days? Those are two separate items. So
Yes.
what's the if I think it's a 5 day or less issue, but I'm not going to get to it right now, then what am I doing with it?
That's a good question. I actually was hoping to solicit other folks' feedback as well. We can resurrect the project board and just put this in like an icebox category or a to-do category. Because issues that are not, slated for any sort of sprints or milestones, we can just are just going to sit there like until they get stale, and that's I don't think desirable at all.
Yeah.
That said, like if we don't want to use the project board, we should probably have a tag like back burner, so that the stale bot won't close it.
Just in terms of nomenclature, I think that we should continue to use Icebox over Backburner.
Fine.
Because the Backburner implies it's still cooking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not actively working on an issue, just tag it as Icebox. Second question: tags or project board? Anyone have a preference?
Tags, I think that they're more. They're kind of like lower lift.
I agree. I like tags better. Okay, does that all make sense for everyone? If you're not working on the issue right now, then just tag it as Icebox. And perhaps going forward, like every week, we could just go through issues that are not tagged as Icebox and just see where we are on them. Does that sound good? Do you all think that'd be a better use of Goodput going forward?
Yeah, I like that. And then I guess it's on some regular cadence, owners should review their own Icebox issues and make sure they're not stale yet, or whether they need to be pulled up to active.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Like every month or so. Does that sound like a reasonable cadence, or do you want more frequent?
Sounds reasonable.
This might be like too much overhead, but is it worth creating like tentative time horizon? Just because like you're already spending time looking at it, so it's like pretty different if you want to work on something in the next month versus like a year from now. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think that like the act of taking it out of the Icebox kind of is like the when the clock starts, right? For this is something that we can say that we're going to work on something, but like things can also change between now and then too, and that can be pushed off further. I just don't want us to get in a state where we have like issues that are not tagged as Icebox but are still not being worked on because we thought they were going to be worked on, but it turns out due to something else they didn't get worked on. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Or so probably would like it almost makes me think of like another tag. Like you have Icebox for things that you want to get to relatively soon, and then like the basement chest freezer is for the things that are much further down the road.
Yeah, I feel like there's a difference between features that we could see ourselves working on versus things that are nice to have, but like we would not do unless we had like copious amounts of time.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing we might do then is we could just tag like an issue as saying like, between now and the next time you shuffle through your icebox, this will get done, like a month time horizon. Would that work?
Yeah, I suspect part of this is also like we have some issues that are probably better being discussions than issues. Like I converted an issue to a discussion that I was assigned last week. It was like related to transaction fees, where it's like, yeah, there's tons of improvements that we could possibly do to the transaction fee system in the node and like the marketplace for transaction fees. All of those things could be improved, but it's like a wide ranging topic that could span like a lot of different work items.
That's
So,
an interesting,
yeah.
forcing function. You could like, we could require that, when you're gonna work on an issue, you also summarize the list of changes you're gonna make to solve the issue. If you don't feel like you can do that, or if you feel like the issue is still too broad, then that's a hint to either break it up into smaller issues or to even just table it and turn it into a discussion until we all have clarity on what has to happen. And that would have been an outcome in the issue you just talked about, Aaron.
Yeah, and GitHub has like a very nice new button that just converts an issue into a discussion. Like it just moves all of the conversation over to a new discussion topic.
That's fantastic.
And so I think that if someone is like if you're looking at an issue that you're assigned to, and you're like, this isn't exactly like an icebox, this is like, nice to have, maybe it's a feature, maybe it's just like a whole bundle of things, then you should probably consider that button.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like a good mental exercise we can do whenever we go through our icebox issues. Like, can we turn this into a design bullet list? If so, great, go ahead and do it. Possibly as multiple issues. If not, needs more feedback, then turn it into discussion. I'm gonna put that into maybe this how to create and review PRs thing as well, because like that, this would be something the creator of the PR should have considered already when they're gonna go and address an issue. Sound good? All right, that's all that I have for discussion and action items. We have 20 minutes left, 21 minutes left. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that needs to be talked about with this group while we're all here?
I would like to publicly ping people for a review of an old PR.
That's great, let's do it. Which PR is this?
Way down 3086. Improved
30.
Atlas shutdown and crash tolerance.
Oh yes, okay, yes.
Yep. That's it.
Okay,
Just wanted to
I'm guilty.
highlight. Yeah.
Can we post the link in the chat?
Yep, I'll post it in the doc. This is actually something we should probably do every time anyway, like PRs that need review now. Yeah, this is something that really should also go into this doc here. Like if people like myself here are dragging our feet, like it's fine to ping us after 2 days or whatever after you assign us if there's been no action. Otherwise we forget or it gets deprioritized. Any other PRs in this situation?
I think we can use
just,
Code Climate to look at all PR. Sorry about that.
What's up, Ethan?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that after this meeting, I'm going to rebase the reorder imports PR, and then after that, I need reviews, and I hope to merge it today.
Yeah, this is something we want to do before the code base changes again out from under you. Which PR number is this? Oh, it's this one right here. Great. Okay, I'm gonna just request everyone that GitHub tells me to request. We should get that merged today. I agree. This has been sitting open for too long, and it does. Refactoring PRs tend to be fragile, so we don't want to have to keep rebasing this. Thanks for bringing that up, Avithra. Is there anything else? Any other PRs that need attention this week or today even? All right, I will stop sharing and we can end early. I see the long chat here. Did I miss it? Did I miss any topics in the chat here?
Hey, Jude, can I chime in with something?
Yeah, what's up?
So I just want to share one thing that the amount of interest in Nakamoto release has just gone through the roof, right? The amount of inbound that I'm getting, we are getting to that stage where everyone's like, and these are like pretty kind of like sophisticated people in the industry. They're all coming in and they're like, so could you like, you know, estimate when Nakamoto release is coming out? And I'm obviously not giving any answers. What I say is that I can tell you this much, that is not coming out in H1 of 2023. Like absolutely no chance that it is coming out in H1. Second half of the year, like, you know, from what I'm seeing, like potentially, but that's how I'm sort of handling it. And the other part is that people are obviously super excited about SPDC. They get it. They totally get it. People are very interested in the faster blocks, like the fact that you could do a VDF between, like to the extent that they're like, you guys don't talk about it enough. Like it is like hidden in the paper. Like it's like it's one of the biggest pain points that at least outside users are noticing. So the interest in Nakamoto release is basically because of both things. And I think we are very heavily focused on SPDC right now, which sort of like makes sense. But there seems to be that people are considering the VDF and the quorum signing as something extremely important as well. So wanted to just like share that.
Right. I think maybe this warrants, Bryce, I know that you and I are listed as the co-chairs of the L1 working group. I think one of us should just make a one-pager and just add it as a discussion on GitHub, just to describe like what the plan is. So we can go tweet it and link it.
Yeah, I think a little bit of like description. I think people are just looking for information, and it will help if stuff is on GitHub. So that's great. But in general, I think with Diwakar earlier as well, and it seems like a bunch of focus is on the subnets work, and then some of that will translate into the faster L1 thing, which is fine. But right now, I think just information can go along with. Anyway, don't want to take too much time, but I just wanted to share these things that I'm seeing like so many questions and pings and whatnot. So what the work all of you are doing here in an open source way is like super critical.
To address Hero Gamer's point about average community member does not use GitHub, that's why I recommend a discussion, because that's something you don't need an account to read. We would just tweet the link, like, and if you want to know more, here's where you go.
Yeah, and I think Hero Gamer and other folks, like they can do a great job, like writing forum posts, Reddit posts that just take the information and sort of like put it out.
I can make that a forum post instead if that's going to splash better.
Yeah, let's follow up.
All right,
awesome. Thanks everyone.
Thanks, Muneeb. All right, everyone know what they're doing? Cool.
Yes, a quick note. So Jose also has experience with VDFs, and so he may be able to help on that design as well.
Great. Yeah, right now it's just a design sketch. We have to go implement everything still. So tips and tricks are always welcome.
Okay.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and end early. 15 minutes back. Cheers, everyone.